Morning, everybody. So here we're back for another episode. Today we are on the wagon again. I am off for a week. I'm probably going to end up making this a fairly long episode, make it all into one, because we're going to try to get a lot of stuff done on this time. I put about a 2-hour one out on the Suburban yesterday, and got a lot of stuff done on it. Which I'm glad, because it's nasty outside today. It's raining and cold, so we're going to stay inside in the garage in the heat and the warm and work on the wagon. So let's take a look at what we got.
No, you're not bringing home another piece of junk.
Alright, so when we last left off, we were working on the rear end on this thing. And everybody remembers the fiasco with the bearings and the seals and all that. So got a hold of Rock Auto. They refunded all that stuff. So I got on O'Reilly's page, and they listed different part numbers than what Rock Auto did. And so I ordered those. I got them here in a couple of days. And they are the right bearing. And they are the right seal. Although this seal is a little taller than that seal. I don't know if you can see that. But I don't think that's a big deal. I think that'll be fine. So today, if you remember, we cut the bearings and retainers off the old axles, so we're going to clean those up, and we're going to get the new bearings on. We're going to get the axles in. I want to get some grease in that thing in the rear end, and while it's up in the air, I want to measure for drive shaft. And then I think I'm just going to leave it up in the air until I get a drive shaft here. Maybe tomorrow I'll run that measurement up to the drive shaft place and have them put me one together. Makes more sense to go ahead and leave it up there and get the drive shaft in, and then put it back down, then put it down, or put it down, back up, and down again. So, okay, so I need to do some cleanup around here. Let me get my workbench done. We're going to put some longer lug studs in these axles too, like we did on the front. Let me get my bench cleaned up, get a few other things cleaned up around here, and we'll take a look at how we're going to put these bearings on, how I think we're going to put these bearings on without a press. So back in just a few. Alright, so I've got this little press, which is a decent little press, and it would work to press those bearings on that axle. Now the problem is it's really short. I don't have anything set up to stand it on that I could like have a hole that the axle could go down through. And the other problem is the seal's bad in this little pump. So I need to do some work on this thing, and I would really like to set this up to where it's got some height on it that I could actually do more with it. It's just been kind of sitting here in the corner for a while, but I am going to get around to doing that, but not right now. So here's what we're going to do. I'm trying to put myself more in the picture, because somebody commented that too much of your videos is just you walking around with the camera and it's kind of going all over the place. So okay, we're gonna try to remedy that. And if I look back at my early videos, when I was doing the 61, I was kind of in the video more explaining what's going on. So just trying a little change in strategy here. All right, so here's our axle. If you can see that. Now you can tell I'm not a professional filmer by any means. So I need to clean this plate up, and I need to clean this surface up, because that's where the bearing goes down on. A little bit of a ridge where the seal went, maybe. Not terrible. It is what it is. I'm reusing it. But I went over and I saw this on another video, so this isn't my idea. I went over and got this galvanized pipe coupling. This is 1.25 inches. And what we're going to do is we're going to slide this bearing and retainer down on there. And then we're going to slide this guy down on that. And we should be able to take a hammer and go around and work this on there. So I've done similar to this before, not on a Ford 9-inch axle, but I've got a bearing on like that before and not any problem getting it on there. So let me clean this surface up and clean this up a little bit, and then we're going to try that. I don't know if this will work being on this wooden bench top. I might have to do it on the floor so I got something more solid to hammer on. So let me clean this up and we'll come back and take a look. Okay, so I just took some little strips of 400 grit paper and polished that up a little bit, wipe that out, and we're going to try this and see if it'll work. I know there's probably going to be people on here who are going to be like, don't do it like that, you'll damage it, you'll crack it, you'll get it off center, you'll whatever. I'm going to try it like this. If it doesn't work, you were right and I was wrong. I'm just going to try to drive it evenly. And see what happens. Feels like it's moving. Ooh. Get down on the ground. All right, I really need a glove. So I can hit this thing harder. Up here. Really close. Oh, that felt solid. Oh, close. Like 1/8 of an inch. Almost there. That's on. Okay. Let's take a look. Oops. There. You can see we were on there. Whoop. Look at that. Bearing is fine. Nothing cracked. Well, we were just maybe just a hair more we could go. Let me whack this a couple more times. That is on there. Now, yes, a press would be the right way to do it, but this works. Okay. Now that we've got that, let's go ahead and change these wheel studs. Let's see how we're gonna do this. Right there. These studs will, I mean, they'll work, but they're so close. There's just not much sticking out of the wheel. We did this on the front too. Alright. These are the new ones, which are just a little bit longer. Half an inch, which is just about enough. They worked really nice on the front. So, let's see if I can do this now. Can also draw these in with an impact. Which is probably what I'm going to end up doing. Just get them started like this. And I'll put a nut on the impact. I put a nut on them and draw them on with the impact. Try not to hit everything else. Okay, that's one. Shut the camera off. We'll do the other axle. I'm gonna go ahead and slap them in, and then we'll take a look at what it looks like. And we need to get the once these are in, we need to fill that rear end up with grease. There's no grease in it right now, so back in just a bit. Okay, so here's the problem. Here's the new seal. Here's the Ford seal. And as you can see, the new seal is quite a bit deeper than the Ford seal, which I didn't think would be a problem until I realized that the retaining ring for the bearing needs that space. So, I don't know if I can get that seal back out without destroying it. I may have to get another one for that, but I think I can take a Dremel or a little die grinder and just trim a little bit off the metal part of this one so that this will work. Because the diameter is right and the ID and the OD is right. It's just the thickness of this thing is wrong. Okay, let me see if I can get this one back out without wrecking it, and we'll see what we can do here. All right, unbelievably, using my little homemade Ford 9-inch steel puller and wrapping some electrical tape around the ends so that I didn't gouge anything, I was able to get this seal back out without damaging it. Unbelievable. So what we're going to take this little die grinder and we are going to cut the back of these down just a hair, just enough to match this, and I think that's going to work. So let me do those and we'll take a look and see if we have nice cut seals or if we have mangled fingers. Hopefully nice cut seals. And I know people are out there saying, don't do this, it's the wrong way to do it, you'll cause the apocalypse, just don't do it. But I'm gonna try it because I'm cheap that way. All right, let's take a look in a minute. Okay, here's what we did. I took my little die grinder and I just eyeballed this thing, and I took that much off and just kind of slowly went around, and then I would check the diameter with the old seal as I went around, make sure I was staying true. There's what I got. And I just took my utility knife, went around the inside, got the burr out of it, and then just kind of kissed it a little bit on the edge with the die grinder. I don't want to mess up this surface because that's the surface that holds it into the bore. But if you look now, that's pretty darn close. All right, so let me put one in on this side and see how it's gonna look. And if it looks like it's gonna work, then we'll do the other side, but I'm not gonna do them both till I know this is gonna work. So let me get this side installed and we'll take another look. All right, that worked absolutely perfect. And the setback is exactly where it should be for that bearing retainer. So you can do it that way. I honestly can't believe that worked, but it did, so I'll take it. Okay, let me lube this dude up, and we'll put a little lubie on this surface, and we'll slide this axle in the axle in there and see how she fits. All right, so this is one other thing I want to point out. There's a little hole right there, and there's a little corresponding like a vent hole on that plate. I think it's so like somehow if water gets in there, it can drain out. So make sure you poke that little hole out. And this one was full of crud, I just noticed. I know people are probably like, I'm so sick of watching videos of the rear end of this car. It's like the third video we've done putting the rear end together and getting the wrong parts and fixing this and fixing that and finding the right parts and the right parts of the wrong parts, and I feel your pain, believe me. I'm ready to be done with it also. But hopefully now we are. Okay. So, can you see that on the plate, that little, that goes to that hole. All right. Now let's see if we're going to have a success, or is Pat going to have a colossal fail right on camera? I feel splines. I feel splines. And there it is. These bolts have a flat spot on the back that have to be indexed right, or they won't go in. So make sure you do that. You have to hold your tongue just right. And then one thing I didn't realize before, this hole in the axle shaft is to put your ratchet in to get your the nuts on. Ah! What side did it come off on that side? I was doing it with an open end wrench. Fumble fingers. Gosh dang, come on. I'm so glad we're not doing suburban video today. It's just hear that rain going and going and going out there. And I still need to clean up the brake drums, put them in, but I'm not gonna worry about them in a second. I'll just get these axles in and then do a drive shaft measurement. It'd be nice. I've got about 3 drive shafts around here. One of them would actually fit without having to be cut. But that's probably not going to happen. Alright, you probably don't even watch me tighten all these, so I'm going to do the same. Let me get the other side done. We'll turn the video back on and we'll see what we got drive shaft wise. Okay, both axles are in. We've got the rear end full of grease. And this feels so much nicer than what it did before. So, success, we're calling that. Unless it starts leaking, which I'm hoping it doesn't. So we're looking at drive shaft here. And we got a little bit of a dilemma, I think. So it's got the 4R70W transmission, which I've never really used before, but this is the yoke off of that drive shaft that was in that Lincoln. And as you can see, it's got like a harmonic balancer built onto it, which I don't know if you have to have that or not. But I found this one. I had this in my stash of junk. That one is off of a Ranger 5-speed. It's got the same splines and it slides right in there, but here's the problem. And if you look at the tip of that shaft, it looks like it goes into a support bushing. So I'm assuming you have to have that. I might have to do a little research on this. The problem is this is kind of close to the one of the body braces. And I'm afraid once you set this thing down and you compress those springs, well, maybe not, because this is up by the transmission, so this isn't going to move up and down, so that may be okay. But you can see how much bigger, how much wider that U-joint is than this U-joint. So I got a couple of options. I got the Lincoln Driveshaft right here, which has the wrong end on it, so that end won't work. I don't think you can cut this down because there's not enough of the small area to cut the thing. It goes to a bigger shaft. Now this is the one that came off the wagon. So maybe the thing to do is use that one if the length is right, with some kind of adapter U-joint. One of those ones, one size on one side and a different size on the other. So let me throw that Lincoln yoke back up in there, and we'll bottom it out, and then we'll bring it back about an inch, and then we'll take a measurement to the rear end. And inch? Yeah, we'll bring it back about an inch, and then we'll take a measurement to the rear end and just see what length we got and then what we got on that. So let me do that and we'll check this out. All right, morning everybody. So did some investigating on these drive shafts. I need 59 inches center U-joint to center U-joint. And I really thought this Lincoln one would be too long. Every one of these is too short. I got 3 here. I got 3 more on the floor. Every one of them's too short. So, I guess I'm gonna have to have them build me one. Costs a little bit more money, but gotta do what I gotta do. You know, I can't find my drive shaft stretcher around here anywhere. So I'm gonna take one of these. I'm probably gonna take this one and the yoke up to the drive shaft shop when they open this morning. If they open today. Today is the day after Christmas, so we'll have to see. Anyway, I'm gonna do that. Take it up there, drop it off. Pick up some other parts, and then I guess we'll come back and work on cooling system today. Let me show you what I got over here. All right, so I've already said like a bunch of times that we need to change that water pump. We're gonna put the hub threaded water pump on there, so we know that. I need to make a flange for this side of the radiator support because it was rusty and I'd cut it off. So, and then we can bolt that radiator on. I think I've got enough hoses around here I can make something work. I was a little leery about putting the radiator in and doing this now because I am putting air conditioning in this thing. I've got the underdash air conditioner. I found a company that sold an adapter hub for this compressor, so I can go to the regular aftermarket compression hose fittings to put on this compressor. And I want to use it because I put that compressor on this car for my brother like a year ago, so it's not that old, so I know it's going to last. But I've got enough room up in here that I can bolt a condenser on once the radiator's in there. So that was my concern. Am I going to put this all together and then have to take it all apart, put the condenser in there? But this is going to work, so I'm good there. Okay, so it is early right now. I want to double check my measurement, make sure we're good there on that drive shaft. I'll probably write it on there so I know what I need, and then I guess I'll work on this water pump before head out up there because it's early. It's like 6 in the morning and they don't open till 7:30 supposedly. So we can at least get this water pump changed before we take off. All right, back in a few. Also, I thought I'd show this. My wife got me this coffee cup. A long time ago she got me this, but this is I love this cup. I don't know why. I try to be a relatively modest person, but I guess she thinks I'm pretty smart. So, all right, enough of that mess. We'll be back in a bit. Okay, water pump is on, and my fan will thread to that. And I don't know if I've showed this before, but the Lincoln actually had two fans. You had the mechanical fan here that threads on the hub, and then inside the fan shroud, which is here, is an electrical fan. Is that factory? Yeah, it looks like it. I'm kind of hoping I can use this shroud. I haven't tried it yet, but we'll see. I mean, it doesn't look massive. Maybe we can make it work. But I'm assuming the electric fan was for AC operations, or it was a backup or whatever. I'm not sure. But we'll figure that out. But I thought while I'm here, we need to do something with this AC compressor because it's getting tight down there. And once I get the radiator in here, and once I get the fan and all that, and the shroud and all that stuff, it's going to be more difficult to access. So what I bought was this, and this is an adapter. I can't remember the type of compressor that is, but you can buy these adapters that will adapt aftermarket Freon lines, refrigerant lines, whatever you want to call them, to your stock compressor. And I've got a few of them in the drawer over there that I bought and just thought they would work and wouldn't work. Well, here's another one I bought that I thought that would work and will not work. And the reason is, I don't know if you can see back in here or not. No, I think we need some light to see back in there. Hang on a second. Well, you can see where the exhaust manifold is, right there. So this kind of angles out. If I was to put this one on there, it would be right hitting on the exhaust manifold, and there's no way I would ever get a Freon line on there. Now this is not one of the more common type of compressors that you can buy these for. I just found one site that had this. And I looked and they did not have a 90-degree one. Just a second. Okay, so this compressor is called the Ford FS10. And the company I bought this from was called Cold Hose, the only one I could find. And like I said, all they had was the straight one. So, and then this is your aftermarket Freon line connector. I thought we would just screw that on there, and I got a crimp tool. We make our own hoses. Not going to work. So this is the factory Ford or Lincoln hose connection. So I got a couple of choices. There's a part number on here. Sort of. If I can rub that off, I can read it. First I thought maybe we just cut this and silver solder them together, but this is steel and this is aluminum, so that's not going to work. But this is also a crimp connector, so I'm going to do some searching and see if I can find these replacement connectors. Somebody's got to have them. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to use the factory Ford connections down there, and we're going to make these things work. And if that don't work, we'll come up with some other idea that's going to make these things work. And I paid, how much did I pay for this thing? 75 bucks or 50 bucks or something. I think we're gonna see if I can send this thing back. Okay, so that's where we are with that. To be visited at a later date. Right now, let's go ahead and thread that fan on there and see what we got to do about making a flange for this. And I guess we'll do a test fit on that fan shroud too. And if it don't work, we're just gonna have to buy an aftermarket shroud or make a shroud or something. I don't have enough. I don't have enough sheet metal around here to make one. I don't think. I have to go get some. But that's where we are. So we'll take a look at this and be back in a minute. Okay, so as you can see, the fan works. We've got good clearance with the radiator, but that fan shroud, that's a no-go. I may be able to get like a slimline fan in here, or maybe a couple of 12s on there. But I would really like to have some kind of fan shroud on there, and I guess I'm gonna have to figure out how to build one. Don't have to do that right now just to get it running and driving. So, and then this is, man, this is close to this fan blade, this radiator hose. So we might have to kind of angle and go across and into that. Let's kind of figure that out. The lower radiator hose is really good. And then I'm gonna have to make a flange for over here, so that's not a big deal. All right, so let's start out. Let me make this flange over here. I need some self-tappers. I'm self-tapped out. I've been using them like crazy on this thing, and I need some bigger ones to put this radiator in, and then I need to finish up my heater hose connection back there. But we're pretty close to getting a cooling system sorta and getting water in this thing. So let me do that stuff and we'll take a look, and it's just about time to take off and run my drive shaft up to the drive shaft store, so we'll tackle that also. So I'll be back here in just a few. Well, bummer, drove up to the drive shaft place and they are closed until January 2nd. So come on guys, put that stuff on your Facebook page or on your website or something when you're gonna do that, because it was about a 20-minute drive for me. So anyway, let's go to the store, pick up some other parts, and get back on this thing. All right, so I am going through all my radiator hoses here, and of course I'm not finding what I need. Radiator is mounted, it's all bolted down. I've got the little manual heater control on here. That is ready to go. I just need a piece of 5/8 hose, and I got some 5/8 around here, but it's pretty old, so I'm not gonna. I'll go with the parts store later and get a piece of 5/8. Now I think this hose, I don't know what this is for. This might be for one of those vans. I think this one will work pretty good on there. I think we can make that work. But I don't have anything for the lower. That lower neck is 2-inch. So I really need like a 2-inch elbow, maybe an adapter, or try to find a hose that's got the big wide 2-inch bell on it and then goes down to, I don't know what that is. Gotta make some weird turns in there. Let's see what that is. That is 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna have to go to the parts store and just kind of root around in their parts bin up there and see what we got. I may have to end up like putting pieces of hose together to make it work, that's fine. I need to order me some transmission cooler lines too. Does the radiator have transmission cooler fittings? It does. Good. All right, so I need to take a measurement and order those. All right, so we'll go do that in a little bit. I got a part coming for the Suburban, not supposed to be till it advanced till 4 o'clock, so I'm not gonna make 2 trips. We'll just wait till 4 o'clock and go there. So I guess in the meantime, that's done. We're looking okay there. I want to get this panel in that goes there. I want to get the accelerator pedal mounted, and I still need to wire up they call it the BOO switch, the BOO switch. It's the brake on and off switch is what it is. And it unlocks the shifter when you push on the brake pedal. So gotta have that. And I ordered just a regular mechanical switch for that thing. What do I do with it? We're gonna make one of those to work. And then I've got this stuff. There's 3 different kinds of resistors here and a little capacitor. I read an article where you can make a little loop of 2 resistors and a capacitor, and this little capacitor that will fake out your secondary O2 sensors, so you don't have to take them out of the programming. You do that, and the car will think it's got the O2 sensors on it. So we're going to try to make some of those and stick those on there too. So all right, I think we're going to take a little break here, and then we'll get back on doing this stuff. So back in a few. All right, my parts came in up at O'Reilly's, so I went up and picked them up and rooted through their hoses and could not find what I need for a lower radiator hose, but I found this, which is a good half of a lower radiator hose. And then I've got this, which will cover the top of it. So I just got to find something to join those two together. Probably go over to Lowe's or something and find a copper reducer or something. They didn't have anything that small up there at O'Reilly's. But anyway, so we're good there. I got the got that plate put in. I cut a new gasket for that out of some rubber I had. And what I need to do is figure out where this brake switch is going to go. Let me grab that real quick and we'll take a look at it. All right, so this is what I'm going to use. It's just a pretty heavy duty limit switch. Got a little roller on it, and I found these on Amazon. I don't know what they went to, but they'll work. They're more than heavy duty enough. And actually, it's got normally open, normally closed, and common. I said before, I kind of wish I'd have used this for just a combination brake light and brake on and off switch, but that would not work because there's no common in between them. They each got their own hot supply. So anyway, what I need to do, I need to mount this up here, make a bracket somewhere that when the pedal is in this position, that it's going to be resting on this switch. That doesn't look too hard to make. And we can adjust the switch a little just by bending on this thing if we need to. And then when you put your foot on the brake, you'll open the circuit or close the circuit. I have to look at which way it wires, and then that will unlock the shifter, and it would also cancel out the cruise control if I'm using that, which I'm not using. So let me fit, and here's my wires for it. So let me come up with a little, some kind of little bracket here, and we'll take a look at how we're going to mount this thing. All right, so there we go. I just made this little bracket out of some, I don't know what size, 1/8 inch. So it's pretty stout. I was able to get one screw in it, but it was just too tight to get a drill up in here. So I just got the one screw in it and put a spot of weld on that, and that ain't going nowhere. So you can see you press the brake pedal and your switch closes. Okay, so that is that. I showed you we got this done, and let's see what we're gonna do next. All right, so I got the gas pedal mounted, and it worked out really well. I've got some self tappers in it right now, which I can't get to the back of it to put nuts on because it's like close up against the bell housing. But so I think what I'm gonna do is just take my welder and just do a dot there and a dot there, and just to make sure that thing doesn't come loose. But ended up in a good spot. You can see I did a little cut and weld there, just kind of move this over a little bit to give me a good spot to center it. But that is in there and done now. So kind of waiting on, what am I waiting? Well, I need to wait until I can get my drive shaft built, and that's after the first of the year. So we're going to do a couple other little things here. I think we'll clean up the drums and we'll put those on there. What else can we do? I mean, I've got some stuff on the dash I can be putting together and painting. I've got the glove box lid. I've got a couple of block off plates go on there. So we're down to just a lot of little minor things. Brakes need bled. I need to wrap the wiring harness. I'm not sure if I want to do that until I'm like sure everything is working like it's supposed to be. So I'll probably hold on that, but we're coming along pretty good. So let me figure out what we're gonna do here. Probably just gonna put a bunch of small parts on, and we'll take another look at it. My gas tank for my Suburban came in today, so that looks much nicer than that. Not gonna wait for the sending unit. I think the sending unit's like supposed to be here Monday. So once we do that, I'll do another video on a Suburban. We'll get the fuel tank in. Got a couple other little things I'm gonna do, and then that'll pretty much wrap that initial part of this project, that project up, and we can start driving it. So let me do a few things on this, and we'll kind of figure out where we want to go. Morning, everybody. So we finished a few things on this before we quit last night, and let's take a look at those. And then I think what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to build a I don't know if you call it a little module or what, but a little fake out circuit for the secondary O2 sensors that if you're doing one of these swaps, if you would rather do that, then you can get into the programming and delete that sensor, but this is another way to do it, and it's relatively cheap. So let's take a look. Okay, so here's what we finished up last night on the dash. I was just kind of putting cleaning up trim pieces and putting them on. So I got this little piece on over here, and there's two block off plates, radio and clock. And I thought about painting those, and it's like, yeah, those are plastic. This one's chrome, like pop metal chromed. So the plastic ones, I left it, cleaned them up. They're fine. And I got the little shift indicator thing on, even though I don't have the little indicator thing. It wasn't in there when I took the column apart, but it's fine. We'll just count the clicks on the shifter and we'll know where we are. Today I want to get several things done. I have got some spray or some rust inhibitor I bought a gallon of, and I want to put it in the spray gun and just kind of get all underneath this thing where the surface rust is, that we're not going to worry about wire brushing down and painting. I just want to get some kind of protection on it. So I figure the easiest thing is take a gallon of that stuff, throw it in a cheap Harbor Freight paint gun, climb under there with a respirator, and just hit everything I can. So like I said, not trying to restore underneath, just trying to stop corrosion. So we're going to do that. Maybe we'll get the brake drums on. There's a lot of things we can do. But one of the things I want to do first is build these secondary O2 sensor circuits. And so let's take a look at how we're going to do those. All right, so as you saw, we professionally restored the rear brake drums the same way we did the front. And these are okay, but it's like, I think this thing sat in water because there's like a section from here to here on the bottom of each one that's pretty pitted. But the rest of the braking surface cleaned up pretty good. So we're just gonna try them. I can get another pair for, I don't know, they're like $150 for the pair or something, but I'm gonna try them, and if they pulsate or act weird or something, then we'll swap them out. But we're gonna try to pinch a few pennies here. Okay, so I did get the O2 sensors done, and I got them installed. I'm putting that on a separate video because I know people do these swaps, these 4-6 swaps on other vehicles. So I just kind of made a short video out of that and posting that by itself. So if you want to see how to do that, take a look at that other video. Now, what I want to do is I bought a gallon of this stuff. And I thought maybe we would take, I got some cheap paint guns around here and climb under there and spray it around. But I think I am just going to use like a regular household spray bottle. This feels pretty liquid. And see if I can just spray that rather than trying to drag the hose down there and keep the, you know, the bin upright on the gun and all that. So let me find a bottle. I think I got a bottle around here somewhere. Let me find a bottle. We'll put some in there and see how it sprays, and if that works, then we'll crawl under this thing and throw a respirator and some goggles on and just kind of spray everywhere I can reach. So and then I want to get this thing, I was gonna leave this up until I got the Driveshaft back, but that may be a little bit. So I just shoved a yoke in the transmission, and we're gonna go ahead and get the wheels on this thing, get it down. I got an oil leak under there from the old transmission lines. I want to clean that up, and then I've got a transmission line kit ordered, so we want to get cooling lines to this thing ran, and I want to do some things under the front. So anyway, let me find a bottle, and we'll try this stuff out and see how it does. Okay, so I found a spray bottle and loaded this stuff in there and just saturated the bottom of the car with this thing up to about here. And then when we do the front, raise front end up, we'll get the rest of it. But I don't know if you can, it's kind of everywhere, if you can see or not. Yeah, it's kind of sprayed on. I think it just turns to some kind of black coating or something, but like I said, all I wanted to do was stop all this surface rust as much as I could. So that's what we did. Yeah, I kind of wish I'd have painted that gas tank before I put it in there. Oh well, done and over with. So I'm gonna go and get the brake drums on this thing and adjust them and get the wheels back on, get the stuff out from underneath it, and let's go ahead, get this thing back on all 4 feet, and we'll roll it out. And I want to put some cat litter on that oil spill, and then we'll get it back in here and we'll jack the front end back up and start planning on I need to run those transmission lines, and there's some other stuff I need to do underneath the front of this thing that I just cannot remember what it is. But let's do that and see where we're at. All right, we got her up back on all 4 feet and looking good, rolling good. I'm happy. Got my oil spot cleaned up. So I think what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing up in the air. I don't have my transmission lines yet, but I think that's probably the next thing we're gonna do. But also I need to get my headlight assemblies in and make sure those bulbs work. But before I do that, I gotta get this piece of trim on because it locks into all these tabs. Just slips in there and snaps, but this last tab is a bolt-on tab like this, and the only way to get to that thing is to have the headlight assembly out. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to find that piece of trim I got over there. We're going to do that, and then over here, this one was broke, so I got another one. We're going to slip in there and get that bolt on there, get those nailed down good, and then I want to bust these headlight assemblies apart and see if the bulbs are any good. I know that bulb's good. Kind of look at these sockets, see if they're usable or whatever, but man, they've got some hokey looking screws in this thing. There's like drywall screws and decking screws, you know, kind of whatever. So I want to redo the wires on these things and make sure we got good bulbs and a little de-rust on them and before we assemble them. But I figure we'll go ahead and get that done today. That's a good thing to get wrapped up on it while we're waiting for parts and for the Driveshaft shop to open. And before long, we'll be ordering exhaust for this thing. And we are not that far away from taking this thing on a test cruise down the road. So I'm thinking it's possible in the next couple of weeks. It might be sitting on a milk crate with no windshield, but it's possible. So all right, let me get this thing up on jack stands and we'll see what we got. Okay, got one set of headlights all rewired. Got all the old broken screws out. Got the adjusters cleaned up and working. Tested the bulbs. Everything wired in. We got this piece of trim secured down. We got this piece of trim installed and secured down. So we are rolling right along here. Wow, look out. And you can see we got bulbs. They're old, but they work. So I'm going to use them. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and test this. Pull this other headlight assembly apart. Do the same thing. Get all the adjusters working. Get the rusty old hold-down screws out. Hopefully we got 2 good bulbs here, and we'll get that side put in. And I think once we get that done, that will probably be it for tonight. So let me get this guy tore down and rehabbed, and then we'll take a look at what it looks like. All right, so there we go. Got them all in, turned them on bright. All 4 came on, and those 2 immediately went out. I think them bulbs burned out, which they were in there when I got the car, so they're probably 50 years old or 40 years old or whatever. So I'm gonna have to get a couple of bulbs. But I think we're gonna wrap it up here for tonight. I think we're gonna wrap it up here on this video actually, because I'm waiting on parts and they won't be here for a few days. So we'll start another video, and next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna run transmission lines. I need to drag this front bumper out, and we need to make, let's see, we need to make these sockets work in that front bumper marker lights. So I'm gonna have to do a little fabricating there. But that's going to be it for this one. We'll get a word from the Lord, and we'll catch you on the next one. Good morning, everybody. So this is one of those awesome mornings where you wake up at 3 in the morning and can't sleep. So I don't know what's going on. I went to bed early last night and just woke up to use the facilities and was wide awake. So I'm assuming the Lord wanted me to get up and go ahead and do the message for my video this week. And we got a lot done this week, and I appreciate everybody who came along and was watching. And yeah, like I said a couple videos ago, I'm off this week for the holidays, so we're putting several videos out, and been getting a lot done, and it feels pretty good. So anyway, on to the message. So was thinking this week about suffering, and one of the reasons I was thinking about that is there's a young couple I know who are trying to have a baby, and she just turned 40, and they have had they don't have a child, and she has had 2 miscarriages, and so this is her 3rd pregnancy. And you know, at 4 years old, you're getting a little bit older, and haven't had a baby yet, so we're, you know, she's kind of they're feeling the clock ticking, and looks like the first 2 miscarriages was nothing serious. I mean, of course it's serious, but I mean nothing that would prevent her from getting pregnant again. So Christmas, they happily announced that to a very few people, and myself being one of them, that they were pregnant again, and they were hoping for that this one works out. So we all gathered around and put our hands on her belly, on baby, and said some prayers over her, and we are praying that this is the one, that God blesses them with a child. So it kind of brings to the question of suffering and why do these things happen. And so I was looking up some different things on it, and I know there's so much suffering in the world, and everyone, whether we experience it from one degree to another. Sometimes some of us a little bit, some of us a lot. Some of it is and there's no really one good answer. Some of it is the direct result of our own poor choices, of sinful actions, of our willful irresponsibility. If you look at, in the case of those, read Proverbs 13:15, says the way of their treachery is their ruin. But then what about the victims of that treachery? What about the innocent who suffer? Why would God allow that? So it's human nature that we find a correlation between bad behavior, bad circumstances, and between good behavior and blessings. The desire to link sin to suffering can really be so strong that Jesus dealt with the issue a couple of times. He said as he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. The disciples stopped him and said, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" And Jesus said, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned." To John 9:1-3. Disciples made the mistake of assuming that the innocent would suffer, and they kind of assigned personal guilt to the blind man or his parents. So Jesus corrected their thinking, and he said, "This happens so that the works of God might be displayed in them." The man's blindness was not the result of personal sin, but God had a higher purpose for that suffering, and we see that many times. A little shot of coffee. I talked a little bit about my testimony with my history of addiction years ago, and there was a young man that I was sponsoring in AA that was doing so well. His name was Lenny, and he he was about 3 months sober, 4 months sober, and he called me one night and he's like, Pat, I messed up. I did some cocaine. And I said, man, I'm going to come over and get you. We're going to go to a meeting. No. I'm all right. I'll get a hold of you Monday. I'll go to the noon meeting with you on Monday. I said, well, Lenny, you shouldn't be by yourself. Let me just come over. We'll go get a cup of coffee. No, man. I'm all right. Lenny had 3 kids. So Lenny got off the phone with me and shot himself. And left his 3 kids behind. Very, very tragic incident. And I had to wonder, why would God allow that to happen? But after that, there was a revival in that meeting. There were people in there that, they call them slip signers. And if anybody's gone to an AA meeting, there's people that come in that the courts just say, you need to go in and get this slip sign saying that you were there. And that's the only reason that they come in, they get their slip sign, and they're out of there. I saw at least 3 of those people had a massive change of heart and started taking things seriously after that happened with Lenny. Now, did God use Lenny to save those other people? I don't know, but I saw that direct result and saw some good come out of that. Don't know whatever happened to Lenny's kids. I hope they're doing all right. Let me look at some other points on here. So the most heartbreaking is the suffering of a child. Children are as close to innocent as we ever see in this world. And for them to suffer is truly tragic. Sometimes children suffer because of the sin of others, abuse, drunk driving, that kind of thing, neglect. In those cases, we can definitely say the suffering is a result of personal sin, not just theirs. And we learn that the lesson that our sin always affects others around us. Other times, innocent children suffer because you might say it's an act of God, a natural disaster, an accident, childhood cancer. I've known 2 couples in churches I've gone to that have lost very young children to childhood cancer. The first couple, I don't know whatever happened to them. The second couple, he is a very good friend of mine, and after their daughter passed, they adopted a little boy, and had they never lost that daughter, they wouldn't have adopted that little boy, and they've had him for several years, and just a wonderful kid. So I saw God work in that respect. But one of the overall points is we live in a sinful world, and the fact that sin entered our world as it did, that mankind brought sin into the world or participated in bringing sin to the world. I mean, there is a curse on us because of that. That there is a sinful nature in all of us, even in the most innocent, and that is self-induced. We did that, mankind did that to themselves. But there's good news. It is not, God did not leave us here to suffer pointlessly. Even though the innocent suffer, read Job 1 and 2. God can redeem that suffering. Our loving and merciful God, He has the perfect plan to use that suffering to accomplish His purpose. He uses pain and suffering to draw us to Him so that we will cling to Him and we will rely on Him. Jesus said, in this world you will have trouble. Trials and distress are not something unusual in life. They're part of what it means to be human in a fallen world. And one of the added benefits is that as we come to Him and we get that comfort, and He's faithful to us to prompt us to stay close to Him, and we experience God's comfort through the trials, and we're also able to comfort others in the same way that He comforts us, and that's a wonderful thing. And then finally, God uses suffering to take our eyes off the world and turn them to the next world. I've talked before about Um, I don't know if this makes sense. If I had a chalkboard that the longest chalkboard in the world, let's say it went on for 100 miles, this chalkboard, and I took a piece of chalk and I went up to the beginning of the chalkboard and I put just a little mark, tiny mark like that. That would represent our time here on Earth, our human lifetime. No matter how long it is, it's that little piece. And then I'm going to take that chalk, I probably need a lot of chalk, and I'm going to start there and I'm going to start drawing a line, and I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going all the way, and I'll probably never make it to the end of that chalkboard. That represents our time in eternity and our time with the Lord. So comparing the two, what we're going through now and the very short time that we're here, and we can see how much more is ahead of us once we move on to that next world. And so when we start thinking, oh wow, it's things are going bad right now. You ask a person 80 years old, 90 years old. I know my dad said this at 70 years old. He said on his 70th birthday, he said, son, I look in the mirror and he says, I don't feel any different than I did when I was 15, but I see this old man and I think, where did all the time go? It goes quick. So we don't want to waste it, and we don't want to hyper focus on what's going on in this world. We want to be focused on what's happening in the next world, because that's where it all happens. That's where we spend all the time. And so anyway, I'm probably rambling a little bit on here, but just a few thoughts this morning. So, and it is 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm on my first cup of coffee, so the brain's not working real great. Anyway, let's have a word of prayer and we'll be out of here. Father, I thank you for today, and I thank you for blessing this young couple with this pregnancy, and we just spiritually lay hands on them and ask for a healthy baby for them. And we just ask that you would help us to focus on our time here compared to our time with you, and just understand that whatever suffering we're going through is temporary. You have made provisions to relieve that suffering, and just help us to take that message and spread it throughout the world to others. We ask this in the name of your precious Son, Jesus. Amen. All right, hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll probably put another video out this week. So I'm off for several more days, so we'll see where we go with that one. All right, catch you on the next one.